My guest today is Dallisa Hocking, a fifth-generation psychic medium, educator, and conscious guide whose work quietly challenges the way modern spirituality often operates. Rather than positioning intuition as something to outsource to readings, predictions, or external authority, Dallisa teaches people how to build inner literacy. So, how to recognize perception, work with imagery, and develop discernment as a grounded, repeatable skill. Through classes, certifications, and community-based learning, she guides individuals not toward dependency, but toward self-trust, awareness, and embodied self-leadership. Dallisa is also the host of two YouTube series, The Curious Question and Books That Shift Us. Spaces designed not to give away answers, but to help people with better questions. At the heart of her work, a powerful reorientation of spirituality, away from performance and prediction and towards consciousness, curiosity, and informed inner knowing. This is a conversation about intuition without outsourcing, healing without hierarchy, and learning how to listen deeply and responsibly to yourself. I'm so glad to welcome Dallisa to the podcast. So welcome, Dallisa.
Thanks so much, Judy. It's good to be here. I'm sure we'll have an interesting conversation.
Yes, I'm excited. I love the listen to yourself rather than, that's amazing. So the first question I always ask is for you to explain who you are and where you come from and how you came to this.
Yeah, I never thought I was going to be a psychic medium, that's for sure. And how ironic, being a psychic medium, not knowing you're going to be a psychic medium. But I was a dating coach. I was a matchmaker. I was planning singles events in different states in the U.S. And I had decided last minute I was going to travel from Texas, where I was living at the time, up to New York to go to a workshop on the study of synchronicity. And how everything happens for a reason. And I grew up in a family that had these gifts and abilities. So I was very open to all of it, but I was never doing it myself. But I would sit with my grandmother in her living room and talk about what predictions she was making, what full body apparitions she could see with her eyes. So when this opportunity came up and I saw this workshop in New York, this was in 2015. Well, I have to go. This sounds so interesting. And I agree. I think everything happens for a reason. So I'm going to do it. So I go up there. And at the time I was working at a university in Texas and I'd had my matchmaking business. And the last night of my trip in New York, I just so happened to have a friend of mine from a corporate job in Las Vegas that I had, and he had a home right next to the Omega Institute in New York. And we were sitting there talking, just catching up about life. And, he gets a phone call that his aunt unexpectedly had died that day. She had fallen down a flight of stairs. So I was there when his family called him to let him know. And I don't think too much of it. I know him from the work project in Las Vegas, but I give him my condolences, of course. And it's late at this point. So he goes upstairs and goes to sleep. I go to the guest bedroom and I fall asleep, until his Aunt Barbara that had just died had come through in the astral dream state. So I could see her and she was talking to me telepathically. She wasn't moving her mouth. And she said, I need you to do me a favor. Please tell my nephew I'm okay. I made it to the other side. So the next morning when I wake up, I'm coming out of it and remembering what she looked like and what she said and what she wanted me to do. So I walked out to the kitchen. I gave my friend the message. He asked me what she looked like. I could tell him. I could see her. I could see what her hair looks like, her facial features. So that is what got everything started. So even flying back to Texas, I was like, okay, well, now what am I supposed to do with this? My grandmother always talks about this, her grandmother could do this. So now what? So that's how it all kind of started, was the trip to New York and the experience with his aunt. And then I just kept pulling the thread.
Right. Okay. Amazing. So do you still give dating advice to a lot of your clients?
But I think I do it in a very different way
Yeah.
that now that I'm, 10 years into this more spiritually based work. When I was doing the dating coaching and matchmaking, a decade ago, I think I was approaching it much more like analytically and talking about the dating profiles and what were they writing and what photos were they using and more like a checklist,
Right.
and trying to position people in a way that really does tell their story. Because a lot of people discount themselves in dating and they don't really share like how amazing they really are. And they maybe don't know how to tell that in a kind of a story format, even if it's just one paragraph on a dating app. So I was focused more on that piece of it. Now whenever I work with somebody that is looking for love or isn't sure like why they stay stuck or keep dating the same kind of person in a different costume, it's a very different conversation I have. Now it's more about, I would consider it like radical liberation of the self, meaning that if something isn't working in your life, so anybody listening to this, whether it's a relationship or it's a job, like if there's something that's not working, what if you took radical accountability for everything that you are doing and thinking and choosing and looking at that not through a lens of judgment, but really getting curious about why you're making those choices and own it and work to heal it so that you can create liberation inside of yourself? Because it's my firm belief, and everything I've seen over the last decade, we will continue to manifest the same kind of problems at the core until we learn it. And so I would rather let's heal it from the core of it than just putting Band-Aids on it.
Right.
Because you'll probably keep dating the same person in a different costume if we don't. Or you will go into another job that you hate because we aren't working on why you don't like the one you have now. And so I like deep diving, and I think that's where all the magic really is.
Right. Very cool. What is your biggest challenge?
With what part?
I love that. So I always ask, and people are always like, I don't know. What do you mean? What day to day? What's your biggest challenge that you face?
My biggest challenge is understanding how I can offer what I offer to people in a way that actually helps them move the needle.
Right.
I like, for example, I love talking about business. I've owned a few different businesses over the years. It's one of the things that gets me really excited with like marketing and how do we tell our story and who do we help? And so I could take this into 10 different directions of like 10 different business classes that I would want to teach. And so getting me to kind of focus in on like what really is the thing that I want to teach right now and who is it that I'm really speaking to when I'm teaching this content. That's my biggest problem, I would say. I'm like, squirrel, like I'm always like looking for the squirrel that's like running around. I'm a Gemini rising, which might give some people some context. Like my brain is always going. And even on days off, I usually will have like a notebook or the notes app on my phone open, just trying to jot down different ideas and different ways that I could really present information that I'm passionate about in a way that is practical and helps people in real life. Because I think a lot of information in the spiritual industry can be very woo-woo. And I've been very woo-woo over the years. But when it comes to people that want to be healers, people that want to make a difference, I think we have to be grounded and practical in the earth plane, in this advanced classroom, in our body, with our minds and our heart and our spirit, working together on the mission we came here for. So my problem is that I have too many things that I want to do and ADHD, not enough time.
Everything is connected though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you work with people when they're afraid of being wrong?
I think being wrong actually holds a lot of potentiality and a lot of open doors and windows. So if there's somebody that's afraid of making the wrong decision or doing something incorrectly, like that's part of the fun. Now they might think I'm kooky for saying that, but I've screwed up so many times over the years. It is never going to be perfect. Whether you're somebody who wants to start a business or there's some big choice point you have in your life and you're trying to make the right decision, like you're probably not going to nail it every day. Right. That's not what I think we're here for. I think we're here to learn and grow and evolve and to be the best version of ourselves. And when we mess up, I think it's more about like giving ourselves that grace, forgiving ourselves for that part that we did make the wrong decision, but heck, we were trying to make the best choice from the place that we were standing at in that moment. And so the journey of life and the journey of choices is about saying, I give myself permission to screw up. And that I know that each time there is something that doesn't go quite the way that I wanted it to or expected it to, that there is going to be some silver lining in that somewhere. There's either going to be something new that I needed to learn or a pivoting, or even the way that I think about myself and my goals in my own mind. I think there's actually a lot of juiciness when things don't go right, because oftentimes that's the quickest route to point you to what it is that will go right.
Right. Because every mistake is a lesson and teaches us. Right.
Yeah.
What about your process? I love hearing how people have like different ways they go in. How do you really connect? Do you have like something you do every time, or?
With connecting to spirit?
Yeah.
It's a frequency match. So it kind of depends on where I'm at that day. So if I know that I need to channel, like maybe I'm going to do an archangel channeling to help with some kind of emotional healing for a group of people, how I connect into that channeling varies slightly depending on the day. So because I'm human, I'm going through this life experience, right? So for example, if I didn't sleep well the night before, I know that I need more time to get myself ready to channel. But then there's other days where it feels like the energy is so amplified that it only takes like a moment to get me connected into the energy. So I approach it where it's not a one size fits all, but it's really honoring where I'm at in the moment, in the day. But sometimes I have to stand up from my desk, let's say, before I go into a channeling and like march in place and get my energy and my physical body moving. Sometimes it's that I'm dehydrated and I don't have enough water, and water can be a powerful conduit for information. So then I, increase water intake. If I am ticked off about something, I really have to sit with myself and write it out or journal it out and like process it out of the body and heal that part of myself that's upset, because I don't want that to be a filter in which the information is coming through when I am doing a group session, for example.
Right. Okay. What classes do you teach?
Oh gosh, there are many, many, many. Some of my more popular ones that I have, one is called Past Lives and Reincarnation. And I take people to look at a past life. I've found past lives to be incredibly helpful. So that's a popular one. Another one is angel signs and numbers, like how angels communicate with us, how to recognize when it's a sign from angels. Let's see, I've got a psychic development certification for people that really want to amp up their intuition and actually start receiving information or prophecy. I have a remote viewing certification, which is taking our consciousness into a undisclosed location to see what impressions we get from sight, from hearing, from feeling, and then having that location disclosed to us, and then we can see how close we got to what the impressions are of the place that we are viewing. So that's remote viewing. But yeah, there's many, but they all really focus on getting you inside of yourself to embrace your own natural gifts, because I think everyone has these gifts and abilities.
Yes.
And I'd rather teach someone, it took me a long time to get here, but my realization is I'd rather teach someone to do it themselves so that they can go within whenever they want, rather than me hand them the fish. I'd rather teach you the tools so you can do this, so that you don't have to be reliant on anyone else to get information. Like, you already have that direct connection and access to source where all the information already is.
Right. I notice when someone's healing trauma and they're getting into the journey of becoming more connected, oftentimes they do connect to the higher source, whatever that may be for them. It's pretty cool to watch happen. But I completely agree with that it's all within, right?
Yeah,
everything is connected. Yeah. We had talked about you giving a few predictions or something that you see coming. Do you want to go there?
Yes. I mean, this year is so massive in the amount of change that's going to happen. We can all see that already.
Yeah.
Even though I've been talking about the overarching theme of dismantling for many, many months, we can now actually see it in the headlines. We can see it happening in different countries. We can see it happening in different states in the US. Like, we're here, right? So Spirit's been kind of interesting with me lately over the last 3 weeks or so, because they've said, you talked about all the predictions, you've said all the things, and now it's about people leaning into their own journey, their own awakening, their own healing, and doing the work within themselves, and that embodiment of that healing and going deeper within themselves. Because I've been noticing that, you know, there's a lot of fear in the predictions. There's a lot of clickbait. There's a lot of, people, including myself. I remember, like, I would go onto YouTube and just click on all kinds of like astrology videos because I love astrology. Yeah. And it would often lead off with like the horrible thing that's going to happen and when that's going to happen. And so Spirit said very recently that it's about getting us out of the loop of fear and noticing when we're kind of doom scrolling and clicking on the things that are the biggest fear, and instead do the work inside of ourselves, because they've said that once we are strong and resilient with our own self and our own inner authority and sovereignty, we will get through anything. And that our intuition is a superpower, and that we will be able to navigate around all of the twists and turns that are coming this year. We will continue to see countries breaking down. We will see an escalation in war, unfortunately. And even in the US, seeing the kind of like the boundary lines of states in the US changing, and there have been some conversations in early stages about some states leaving the union and banding with other sections of other states together to create larger states. So that is very much in the energy. And I would suspect in the next few years that the map of the United States will no longer be the map that it is now. There will be movement towards who's living in what quote unquote state, and who are the residents of those states. And I also have been feeling that more of the authority will go back to local governments, not only in the US, but in other countries as well. And, we've been seeing that most recently with Iran and people taking to the streets and protesting. I don't think they're going to be the only country that is going to be doing this. And we're also seeing spikes in the energy in the US with people in different areas that will be increasing the level of protests and getting louder and louder. But all of that is the word I'm hearing psychically is like this crescendo. It's like it's getting louder. And with that spike, it's going to get more intense. So we're going to have to go through this tunnel of intensity, regardless of where we live. We may not be directly in the crossfire, but we may be seeing it from people that we know that live in these different places. But it's going to almost feel like the signature of civil war in different countries until it reaches that crescendo and then like breaks open. But it feels like the breaking open needs to come as a result of trying to get more and more people on the same page. And frankly, as I'm saying this to you aloud, it's this feeling of, is a country going to threaten like a nuclear weapon? That's what I'm getting, is like that there's going to be cause for major concern, that there will be a fear of being hit with a nuclear weapon. That feels like it's part of this crescendo. So our intuition is our inner barometer, and we're really being asked to go back to that each and every day, because if our focus is on what we're seeing externally, it can be very easy to feel like we're getting sucked into that fear and that control energy. But if we can learn to step away from it and trust our own inner barometer, we will flow through this year, next year, they're saying 2028, with a lot more flow and a lot more calm, because we won't feel like the weapon is coming directly at us. And if there is some kind of threat, right now in the energy, it doesn't feel like it's actually deployed, but it does feel like this massive threat that makes a lot of people panicked. But right. I don't see it actually deploying. Feels like there is a stop before that happens. But just the threat of it is going to send people into a deep spiral if they're too connected into that fear. So yeah, the more we listen to ourselves, the better we'll do over the next few years, which is kind of that overarching message Spirit's been really loud about the last few weeks. But every system that we're plugged into has the potential to get dismantled. It's not only the federal government that I'm seeing that with, and changes to the office of President of the United States and what power that role has in the U.S. moving forward. But it's also systems like education and healthcare that are going to be on the table as well. And you could ask yourself, like, well, what kind of systems? Like, move through your own life. Like, what systems are you plugged into? Because all of those systems are going to be up for negotiation. And if they fully dismantled, then there'll be discussions and plans around the rebuilding of those, the rebuilding of what healthcare looks like next, the rebuilding of what education, elementary, secondary, college, so on and so forth, what all of that looks like. So we are in the midst right here in 2026, where it's all like this plume of smoke in different parts of the world that is designed to intensify and eventually break open so that the dismantling can happen, so that the rebuilding can occur. And I believe that we chose to be here, right now in these bodies, so that we could witness the dismantling, because of how different it's going to make all of our lives in the coming years. But we wanted to see the dismantling and watch the old systems die and crumble and go through this new creative process of rebirth. But we also wanted to be here to create the rebirth. We wanted to be a part of the people that say, okay, that didn't work, So now what are we going to do? And taking that back to the local level, what is it going to look like in your own community? How are you going to lend your voice and your talent to your local town or city? Because local communities are going to become increasingly more important. And where you live is really going to matter this year. And I imagine some people listening to this are already thinking like, am I living in the right place? And I think a lot of people are going to end up moving. I think they're going to end up moving more so out of the large cities and go more inland and more into smaller communities, or creating their own micro communities and building their own housing. It feels like there's going to be a lot of people getting out of kind of the mainstream matrix of life and saying, I'm just going to go get my friends together. We're going to go buy some land and build our own community. And that's where we're going to live. So I think we're going to see more and more of that. And more people stepping out of what we've kind of normally become accustomed to. Like, I'm going to go to my 9-to-5 job. I'm going to go buy a house and put 20% down. I'm going to go, this. That feels like it becomes less and less common as we go through these years. Like, it doesn't feel like many people anymore looking for the even like marriage on paper relationship. It feels like we even get further away from that, where we are still in partnership, but it doesn't feel like people are going after the like white picket fence and the dog and having 2.5 kids. Like, so even collectively, what people are rethinking around what it means to live the life that they want, or a quote unquote good life. We're all kind of rethinking this right now. And for a lot of people, I think it's going to be that they want simplification and they want more authority over themselves and what they do for work. And so that they will exit a lot of the systems and create their own micro communities, which will be really, really interesting to watch. But I know I just said a lot out loud, so I'm going to see how that's landing.
I completely agree that all that's coming. What comes to mind is I think it was a couple of weeks ago, probably on TikTok, these people were like commenting, let me know how to help because I'm buying all this land. I'm feeling activated. And I just want to grow food to help people. And so that comes to mind. And also the spiritual awakening of everybody and how fast it's come. Like, I wanted to write my book 15 years ago, and I was very hesitant because I was like, nobody really understands manifestation. And now I finally put it out and I'm like, okay, there's probably like 50 to 100 books now on it, and all these people talking about it. And another thing that comes to mind, I just want to, throughout all you're talking about it, to ask, where do you think AI plays in that?
I think it's going to send, I'd say a lot of people, enough people to really have us sit up and notice. But I think it's going to create an identity crisis in many people. I also tie that back to the astrology. Neptune and Saturn are going to be, in Aries, and Aries is the sign of the self. And so us thinking about, like, who am I? Like, what am I doing here? I think that's going to be a big part of this that's unfolding, especially over, the next 2 to 3 years. But Neptune's in Aries a long time. So I think it's like 14 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
So this is going to be a theme where, and Neptune can create confusion. It's one of the qualities of it. It can create like this fog, this haze. And so if it's in the sign of self, I think we're going to really be working through in these next several years, like, who am I? Why am I here? Like, why was I deciding to be born right now? What is it that my voice, my talent is supposed to bring to the world? And I think AI is going to throw a lot of that into a tailspin. I do think it's going to end up eliminating some jobs. I think many of us have seen that, and we, see people talking about AI and how they're projecting that. So I do think it's going to adjust what jobs are available and how those jobs work. But I also think it's going to create new opportunities for people that are the humans working alongside AI. So the ones that I get a little bit concerned about is the person listening or somebody that we may know that is like, I am an accountant. I've been doing it for 20 years. This is what I do. I'm not stopping. AI can go fly a kite, right? Until AI is like, we're taking over accounting, right?
Right.
But they probably will need a few accountants to kind of double check work for a while or make sure that AI is operating the way that it needs to. So the people that are really stuck in what their identity has been, I think they could feel like they're encountering roadblocks or they're stumbling or they're going through this identity crisis of like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Right. But if you hear all this and you're like, okay, well, what's meant to be will be, and maybe working with AI could be really interesting, then I think that you'll create opportunities. And I think more doors will open for you. And but I do think it's here. I think we've had it before. I think it's a technology we've had.
Yeah.
And I don't think we approached it with very much integrity the last time we had it. This came through during a channeling. And we are faced in the not so distant future with that same choice again. Are we going to use AI in a way that is ethical, and the word inclusive is coming into my ear, or are we going to use it for more power, control, and money? And so how are we going to use it? And that is not a choice point I feel we have concluded in concrete for this next attempt at it. And so it's going to come down to what we're doing with it collectively. And AI is a huge piece of what's going to change our day-to-day life. But as you hear about that, we just talked about all these other systems, it's like one thing on top of another. Right. So there isn't just like this one big prediction that's going to change all of our lives. It's like, no, they're all going to happen at one time. But I think it's that crescendo and that it needs to happen at once, at least how I've seen it psychically, so that it can create the break of the things that are not working. Because if they were like dripping it on top of us for a really long time, and some could argue we have had that for a long time, but now it's kind of reached this tipping point where it is getting louder. The crescendo is needed in order to create the action and the movement to create what is coming and what is new. Right. Which means there's going to be a lot of opportunity for sweeping up the things that are going to be broken and dismantled.
Yeah. The other thing that comes up is ADHD, because I have this firm belief that there is so many of us ADHDers because it's like evolution. And who better to handle the change of systems than someone who sees all these patterns and has this adaptability and flexibility. And so it's really an amazing time to be alive, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it reminds me of, I'm one of the 5 people on the planet that has not listened to the telepathy tapes, but I know enough about it because so many people
really
want to talk. Yeah. I've heard, I will listen to it. But I also, that comes to mind with like Spirit has said that we're going to be, part of my channeling is that we're going to be in this higher energy and that we'll be communicating more through the use of telepathy. And I am aware of, them with that podcast working with and telling stories of nonverbal autistic children and how they are receiving all these downloads and telepathy. And that is also gearing us up and getting us ready. And because it's so big in the collective and so many people have talked about it and learned about it, it is increasing that awareness about telepathy and how actually we can all access it. But what a great example of of people that maybe some thought, oh, well, they can't talk. We'll never be able to understand them. We'll never be able to communicate with them. And here they are being like, I'm going to the hill and I'm talking to this person and that person. It's like, it's so incredible that, just like you said, at the example of ADHD, there are these different pieces that are coming into part of this story and what's being revealed. And that is all leading us to this, I think, really exciting future that we have after we get through this tunnel.
Yes. It's all about resiliency and being able to bounce back, right? So, yeah. And love. Who do you look up to? Like, I saw you had worked with Tony Robbins. Who are your big kind of mentors that your go-tos?
Yeah, Tony Robbins, when I went to Unleash the Power Within, that was really incredible. That's the one where we do the fire walk. Oh, and I walked over the fire and was completely hypnotized.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a surreal moment I don't think I'll ever forget, where there's thousands of people in this room. And we were getting ourselves prepped and hypnotized, and seeing all these thousands of people just slowly walking out to the fire pits outside, just like just completely like in another realm. So that was really good. But I would say today, one of the people I really look to for inspiration is Lee Harris, who's very popular in this field. I've been blessed to develop a relationship with him. And if I've got a question about, the industry, or, gosh, I'm noticing this trend or that trend, like, he's the one I go to. And, he's been doing this, I think, for over 20 years at this point.
Wow.
And I love the way that he has created a business with and around his gifts in a way that really does help people. But he does everything he touches, I feel like he turns to gold. But he's been an inspiration because, he started off a long time ago doing one-on-one sessions. But these days, like, he creates these incredible classes. He creates in-person events. He goes on tour. I feel like he's taken his gifts and really figured out how to amplify them in a way that helps people through different kinds of experiences. And so he's the one that I really look to as like, wow, you're really doing this right. So that's been great. And for day-to-day people, my grandmother's no longer here with us on earth, but she was the one that I would go to and ask her all the questions and understand her gifts more. And so she is absolutely still on the other side, helping and guiding. But I always feel like there's helpers there, and we've probably all heard it, like, when we're ready, the teacher appears.
Right.
And so I just stay open to like what I'm supposed to be doing to help people that are ready to learn how to fish inside of themselves, and keep those opportunities open for whoever, I cross paths with, because I'd like to think that we're all here helping each other in some way.
I think so. Yeah. What about the past life readings? I haven't really had anyone talk about that on my show before. Can you talk about why, or maybe bring up a case or something, whatever comes up, but how it's helpful to people?
Yeah. And I love that question, because here I am talking about spirit telling us to embody and do the healing. And then I'm like, yeah, but look at your past lives. So yeah, I have found looking at past lives to be one of the biggest needles I have had personally in really healing myself. I remember when I first started looking at them, this was, I don't remember exactly when, but I'll say about a decade ago. And I would see ones that had direct correlation to this lifetime and things that I was trying to learn but hadn't quite figured out. So an example, my very first past life vision, I was taken into being in a field, And I could see my hands, and I could see that I was working in the field and that I was an African-American slave. And I felt dirty. I felt completely worthless. It gives me chills even as I bring it up now. And I came out of that and I was like, wow, I had like no worth. I'm like, wait, but most days I walk through my life feeling like I'm not worth anything. And really understanding that it was one of the core things I came back to earth for, to finally learn. And so I get a lot of people that end up coming to me as students or clients that say, gosh, I just don't feel like I can get that job that I want because, they don't have the worthiness that's there, or they attract a partner that treats them terribly and they don't know why, so it's like uncovering a lot of self-worth and how to heal that. So that's an example from my own life. So when I take people in to look at past lives, I go in with the intention that we are looking at past lives that have some kind of direct correlation to this lifetime, because it can be very novel for like, oh yeah, let's just go take a look for fun. Let's see what we were. I would rather approach it as like, okay, we're going to take a look, but I want to look at stuff that's like actually having to do with something you're going through now.
Right.
So that you can try to see it from a different lens, see that you've been through this before, and then see what we can bring back from looking at those past lives. So then we can apply it to this lifetime.
Yeah. I'd like to mention that it's also supported by a psychiatrist, originally Brian Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he even has meditative meditations out there, because the fact that a psychiatrist would hypnotize people to bring them back, that's pretty spectacular, right? I've done a few of them, but I always just sometimes it heals relationships, like it shows me who people were, but typically it's very powerful visions, not really negative ones, but very powerful.
Dolores Cannon is also well known. She developed QHHT while she was alive, and then she worked with another person that was studying under her to create Beyond Quantum Healing. So those are two different kinds of hypnosis that usually are correlated with looking at past lives. But I agree with you about seeing who's in our life now that we had a past life with, especially if in this lifetime you have a challenging relationship with them. Yeah. Because seeing who they were in another lifetime can give you context. Like I remember one of my very first experiences looking at past lives, I had a boss that I'm like, I don't get it. They're so hard on me. Like, I don't know how to work with this. This is when I was still in the corporate world. And I go into a past life and they're like, yeah, they were your mom. Oh, okay. Now I get it. And then I completely shifted the way that I saw that relationship. And it made the relationship so much easier to navigate, because my brain was like, oh yeah, we know what this is. Like, we know what you've been through before. And so we're just going to treat this differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can heal everything. Yeah. Nice. What is your ideal client like? Who do you look for?
I look for somebody that is open-minded and willing to do the work. I noticed that this is just where I was at in my own journey, but for the first several years of doing this kind of work, I attracted a lot of people that wanted answers, but they wanted me to tell them the answers, because I'm a psychic medium, and I channel and I get information really easily. Yeah. And so it became really simple for them to be like, Dallisa, I'm coming over for a session. And I'd give them all the answers, and then they would get that dopamine hit, and then they would leave. And then a month later, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to you about other things. Right. And so then it just became this cycle of people seeking information from what I could channel for them. Right. And it's really been in the last few years where I've noticed, like, that is not what I want to be doing. I really want to work with people that yeah, do my psychic and spiritual gifts come into it? Sure. But I would rather work with somebody that's like, I want to learn all about myself and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And I just need somebody to hold a flashlight in the dark cave and help me understand it. Like, I'm a good flashlight holder, and I'm really good at asking questions that help reflect things back to the person. So I teach a lot these days in the group classes and meditations, and I'm learning more about the use of guided imagery and beyond quantum healing, which is hypnosis. So I'd rather say, come like work with me or come to the table with me if you don't mind me asking questions and being a mirror back to you so you can get deeper inside of yourself. Because then once we do that, then you unlock all different kind of resources and tools you have within yourself. And then you really can get through anything and make choices more confidently. But as long as you're hooked into someone that you are seeking information from, and you feel like that clarity from that person is going to help solve your problems, it's probably going to be a never-ending loop that you're stuck in until you decide you're going to step away and look for guides rather than for someone to tell you what to do.
Right. It's choice.
Yeah.
There's have you ever heard of, I think it's called Five Short Chapters. It's an autobiography by Portia. I think I'm screwing up the name, but it's similar. So it's about this woman, and it's like 5 short verses. In the first verse, they walk down a street, fall in a hole. It's everybody's fault. And then the next one, they walk down the street, still fall in the hole, but they get help to climb out. And then the next one, they walk down the street, go around the hole, and it's still same street. And then, anyway, by the time they get to the 5th one, they choose a different street. So it's all about how, go from that victim stance into, accountability and making another healthier choice. So,
yeah.
Nice.
There's a lot of folks I've met over the years, and I was the rescuer.
Me too.
Yeah. And I think that's why I got into the work. Reflecting back, it's like I wanted to heal people and help them. And if I can't help, someone in my own life heal, then maybe I can help other people heal. And so I just kept being a rescuer and then burning out, because I'm like, why do I get all these people that are victim energies? It's like, oh, well, it's the line of energy between the victim and the rescuer that you just keep having over and over and over again until you choose differently.
Yeah. And usually when people are coming out of it, they start to get really annoyed with the victims and the rescuers. What would you give someone advice for in order to connect themselves with spirit or moving forward into it? What's one piece of advice?
You have to believe that you can. Because if you don't think you can connect to spirit, if you don't think you can do the inner healing, you get to be right. So I would challenge anybody that wants to do the deep inner work, believe that you can. Believe that doors and windows are going to open that you can't even imagine right now, that are going to help you with your own healing, your own path, helping you to feel more connected to your life, feeling like you are living out some kind of soul purpose that you incarnated with. You have to believe that you can and that you're worthy of it. Because if you don't think you're worth listening to or hearing from, or, that you don't have anything special, then that's probably reflective of things you've gone through in your life and stories you've told yourself or stories other people have imparted on you. But I believe that everyone came here with different gifts and unique ways of bringing those gifts into the world. And it doesn't mean you have to become a spiritual healer or a psychic or some kind of life coach, but I guarantee everybody listening to this has some kind of unique gift that they came into to bring out to their either inner circle, their community, the world, especially during this time that we're living in right now, and especially for these next few years. And I hope that this conversation has lit up something inside of everyone that gets them even just to pause for a moment and say, like, what is my unique gift that I have? And what am I going to do with it? And ask yourself that every single day, because by asking yourself that every day, new clues will arrive. New people that you weren't expecting to meet arrive. And it's just by being curious and opening up that pathway of at least being able to ask the question and be okay with what starts evolving and growing in your own life. But you got to believe you're worthy of having it. And you have to remember that you have something worth sharing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I don't have to ask you what message you would give out now, because that was good. How about, I just wonder, was there ever a time where you didn't want it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's especially when I was working with people that just wanted information. And it was positioned more, in that way, because I was just thrilled that I could channel and get information. I'm like, this is cool. Like, I get to help people. And then you realize after a while that you're not actually helping them in the way that you intended to help them. So there have been points where I have felt completely burnt out. And it's because I was giving and giving and giving and sharing and trying to help. And the other person would be very passive. And then they would come back the next month and in some cases ask me the same exact questions.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, I can't do this. Like, it was starting to like really mess with my mind. And I was just getting so tired. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to show up. I was just ready to be like, you know what? I'm done. And it took me getting clear about why I was so burnt out and then making choices to support like what it is that I'm really trying to do. And it has meant that I've had to reinvent my company a few times because the old model of what I had set up, which was what I saw everyone else doing, like this has to be how we do this, that it's okay being like, yeah, that's the old version. Like now it's the new version, and just being open with that. And I would hope anybody that is owning their own business or thinking about doing it, the business you start on day one or year one is probably not the same business you're going to have by the time you get to year 5 or year 10, if you're lucky. And it's just being open to how that's going to pivot as you learn more about yourself.
Yeah. What's your non-negotiables for your day?
I always at night give myself self-care time. And I found at night it's the easiest because when I get up in the morning, I'm ready to go. I'm a morning person. Let's do this. So I have to do it at night to like bring myself back down. So I do 3 things every night. Number 1, I listen to it's on audio, but either a class where I'm learning something new or I'm taking a meditation. Right now I've been using Insight Timer as the app that I go to. So every night I listen to something there. Then I journal and I read an affirmation. I reflect on the day. I do write down what I'm grateful for. And then the third thing is I read at least 1 chapter out of any book that I want to read. Instead of forcing myself to read something self-help or spiritual, which I've read a ton of, right now I'm reading some like James Patterson novel. It's about like a bomber. It's like, okay. But I give myself that choice because I want it to be a book that I'm interested in reading. Right. And so those are the 3 things that I do at night to get myself ready. And then my brain knows, oh, we're getting ready for sleep time. We're starting to journal. And so it's really helped. My dreams have become more vivid because I'm doing those steps before going to sleep.
Right. Because you're shutting off the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, this has been a very good conversation. Is there anything else that I haven't asked that you would like to put out there?
Oh, I always think of a Rumi quote. Let's see, which one do I want to go with?
Love Rumi.
Oh gosh, I know. The two I go to are the wound is the place where the light enters.
Yeah.
And then the other one is live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. So I love those quotes because it takes them out of the victim mentality. And it's like, everything's working for me. I just need to choose to see it that way.
Exactly.
So those are beautiful. And yeah, anybody that wants to connect can do that over at spiritandspark.com. I've got my socials and classes and everything on there.
I'll put them in the links as well. Everything is always working in my favor. That's what I've been saying all week. So that's funny.
I love that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a lovely conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. I enjoyed it and hope to talk to you again soon.